Do we have a quorum of planning board members present in person? If there was a response, I could not hear that.
All right, sorry about that, Tom. Yes, we have 4 members present.
In person,
Correct.
right? Okay, I'm showing 6:30. So tonight's order of business is we have 2 public hearings followed by the traditional regular planning board meeting. Everything away.
Can you turn him off?
Yes.
The first public hearing,
There you go.
Olean 2020 LLC, that's site plan number 5-22 at 2810 West State Street. Could you read the roll, please?
Mary Fay,
Here.
Mark Sabella,
Here.
Reed McElfresh,
Here.
J.R. Benyon,
Here.
Tom Barnes,
Here.
Craig Polson,
Here.
Jerry Steiner.
Here.
And could you read the legal notice, please?
Legal notice, public hearing, City of Olean Planning Board, application of Olean 2020 LLC, 2810 West State Street, Olean, New York, October 17th, 6:30 PM, Olean Municipal Building, Room 119, and Zoom public hearing and meeting link published via the city's website on the Planning Board city webpage. Please take notice that in accordance with the provisions of section 9.1.6 of the zoning law of the City of Olean, a public hearing will be held on the date and time specified above in connection with an application that has been filed and received by the Planning Board of the City of Olean for a preliminary site plan review and approval of a project at the above noted location. A copy of the preliminary site plan application is on file for inspection in the city clerk's office of the City of Olean. Frank Caputo, City Clerk, Carrie Kerper, Program Coordinator.
Thank you. The purpose of our public hearing tonight is first to obtain input from affected property owners and residents and on the project to inform our decision that we'll make later on in the meeting following the 2 public hearings. And secondly, for the public to ask questions that the applicant can provide answers to. Okay, so at this point, I want to open up the public hearing for comments or questions from residents and affected property owners. And I would just ask that you allow me to call on you one by one. And when you are called upon, please state your name and your address for our minutes. Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any comments or questions on the project? Yes, sir. From the Zoom?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Max Sains. I'm the owner of 116 South 19th Street. I guess a question me and my wife wanted to bring up was years ago when Olean Mattress was in that parking lot where Aaron's is. We used to have a bunch of plantings and trees that would block off that parking lot and their dumpsters and all that type stuff. That's one reason why we're from Long Island originally. And when we picked this house over a couple of others, we like to have the trail behind our house and that privacy. Now with this project going on, are they going to put plantings and trees to keep a reserve to block those apartments, or what is that step to keep that nature that, or coming from Long Island, anything up here is nature, but as far as keeping that look of privacy from us, from our home and our backyard?
That's a really great question, sir. But that's actually the second public hearing. We're talking about the public hearing for the Starbucks right now.
Okay, okay.
which is further down West State Street.
In their
So,
oldies, okay.
yeah, so we will get to your comment and question in the second public hearing, which will be happening immediately after this one, okay?
Okay, okay.
Okay, sorry for
Thank you.
that.
No problem. No problem. Thank you.
Anyone else with a comment or question on this project? Oh, we may get to your question sooner than, rather than later, sir. I'll ask again, if you're here to make comments or to ask questions about this Starbucks project on 2810 West State Street, now is the time, because once we close the public hearing, your primary opportunity for providing input or asking questions on the project is over. So if you come down to the city hall, or if you're zooming and you have any questions or comments on this project, now is the time. So please don't be shy. That's why we have these public hearings. So I'll ask one final time before we close the public hearing. Is there anyone who wants to make a comment or ask questions about the 2810 West State Street project? Okay, I'm not hearing any comments. I will accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Barry and JR.
Seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Okay, now we open up the recognizing a quorum. I'd like to open up the Olean 2020 LLC site plan number 6-22 at 2101 West State Street, the public hearing for that project. Please show the same members present. And I recognize again that we have a quorum. And could you read the legal notice for this project?
Legal notice, public hearing, City of Olean Planning Board, application of Olean 2020 LLC, 2101 West State Street, Olean, New York, October 17th, 6:33 PM. Olean Municipal Building, Room 119, and Zoom public hearing and meeting link can be found on the City of Olean's website via the Planning Board page. Please take notice that in accordance with the provisions of Section 9.1.6 of the zoning law of the City of Olean, a public hearing will be held on the date and time specified above in connection with an application that has been filed and received by the Planning Board of the City of Olean for a preliminary site plan review and approval of a project at the above noted location. A copy of the preliminary site plan application is on file for inspection in the City Clerk's office of the City of Olean. Frank Caputo, City Clerk, Carrie Kerper, Program Coordinator.
Thank you very much. I won't repeat my directions to those present. And let's begin with the comments from Mr. Sens, is it? And
Yes.
okay, for the applicant, would you like to respond to his question?
Yeah, just to address your question, Max, right now we only have landscaping shown in the traffic aisles going down the drive lane and along the southern property line along West Henley Street extension there. We don't have anything shown currently between the apartment buildings and the walk trail and walk path right there. I know right now the building closer to Aaron's and Little Caesars, it's a little too close to it, and with the patios and that, we also, I know the people we've talked to are looking to move in potentially here. We want them to have views of the trails, and you guys have. There is some other landscaping that's outside between our building and the trail that it will be remaining with the construction. So there will still be some of the trees on site there still.
Okay.
All right, and of course, there is going to be a tree berm at the, or a tree barrier on the southern border of the development as well. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, please.
Ma'am?
I'm Mary Ash, and good evening, everybody. We live at 1410 West Henley, and I did have a similar concern with Max. Also, I think I read, correct me if I'm wrong, there's not going to be access to West Henley Street.
That is correct. There will not be any access onto West Henley Street.
Okay, now does that include, right now there is access through that parking lot?
There is not right at time. There's trees, the whole back section along West Henley Street for our property is all
Okay.
wooded. So only access to would be the current curb cut and the intersection where Aaron's, Little Caesars annex is.
Okay, so then I'm assuming that your property ends in that parking lot somewhere before that cut through to Henley Street. There is one now that the city uses, I think, occasionally for,
Right. Mary, are you talking the paper street with the access to the Benderson property?
is it access to the Benderson? I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure how far their, property extends.
Talking about the road that goes to the Pines?
No. If you're going to the Pines, on Henley Street, on the right-hand side, there's access to that parking lot.
Yes.
It's
With all the holes in it.
That's where the hospital used to be.
Yeah, is that the access to the old hospital parking lot?
That's not the.
It could
that's not
be.
Park Center.
Yeah, so if you continue up that road, it takes you right to the retirement home, which would be up there on the right, correct? And then
Right.
and if you keep on going, you'll go right into Tops. So
Yeah, certainly, but-
there is an access road that goes off the trail. So
Yes,
you just can't walk right across. You have to stop. And if you make that right, there's a road that goes right behind that parking lot. That's the one I believe that she's speaking about.
yes. It's, the city, I think, occasionally uses it. They will dump like refuse there, like from the street sweepers and.
I just
No.
pulled it up on
At the end of
Google.
that road.
That
can you?
is not our property. That
Okay.
is more
It's
to the
Benderson.
west. That's the next parcel over, I believe.
Okay, that's
Right.
what I was wondering.
Yeah.
That, I think you're correct. I'm thinking, looking at it now, and I think your parcel where Aaron's is over a little bit further to the east between the trail and this access little, it's not even a road, it's just an old parking lot road, I believe.
Yeah, that's that's not our property, and we don't plan on attaching to the paper street anyways.
Okay.
We saw it, and we knew that wasn't a real street per se,
Mhm.
and we still preferred all the traffic to go out onto West State Street.
Okay, because occasionally, you do see people that will access Aaron's, Little Caesars, and kind of bypass a few things and use
Yeah.
that access.
And
So that was my concern.
there'll be a line of trees on that southern border of
Mhm.
the site between that and that paper street. And we have, the applicant told us in our introductory meeting 2 weeks ago that if in the future, if that paper street ever becomes a real street, that if they ever wanted to go out onto that street, they would have to come back to us and get approval for an egress onto that extension of the paper street.
Okay.
So that it's not something that our approval today would end up having any other egress or ingress into the site other than the one off from West State Street.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome. Anyone else with a comment or question?
Over here. Are the streets or the apartments gonna be back to back or side to side?
Could you tell us your name? And I'm,
Kimba Ball, I live at 114 South 19.
okay, as you go
What
in,
was the last name?
Babola, Babola.
Thank you.
as you go into, if you drive off from West State Street with Little Caesars on your right and Aaron's on your left, continue into further deeper into the lot, There'll be a central drive aisle with 2 buildings on the left and 2 buildings on the right.
Okay,
And they're going to be built in 2 phases. The first phase will be the 2 buildings on the left, that is toward the east, and the second phase will be 2 buildings on the right, that is toward the west.
May I ask another question?
Sure, Max, go ahead.
Is there a rendering, like an artist rendering or a drawing of the buildings that we can see? Or have they?
You can go to the city clerk's office and see a full set of plans there.
Okay, good, thank you.
Just Max, we have elevation drawings that are included in that package set.
Okay,
Right now, we're looking at using a 2-tone beige tan color scheme for the project. We may switch over to a gray color scheme, but they're more on a modern as that, like kind of a newer development within the Western New York area.
okay. So it is more of like a modern okay, good.
what kind of, is it for senior citizens? What kind of people is this for? Is it for senior citizens or anybody?
These will be market rates, so they'll be open to anybody.
Okay. I got one question. What are you guys gonna do to bring back the wildlife, the deer, the rabbits, the woodchucks, the groundhogs? Because I have a younger son that enjoys seeing the deer. He loves walking out towards where MASH 1 had said. He enjoys it. He loves to see the wildlife. And when you guys are doing that, you're going to take away the wildlife from all of us. I mean, they come up in our backyard.
To that point, I don't have a 100% answer on it. I know we will be adding more landscaping in. We do our best to keep the noise down and distraction. Obviously, there's going to be some impact on wildlife, but I know with the trail path there and that, I believe wildlife will still come back and be proficient in that area, even once the development finalizes.
Okay, I hope so.
Anyone else with a comment or question?
Yeah, Tom, we have a lady present with us that would like to speak.
Sure. I can't see somebody raising their hand there, so please ask her to speak.
Sharon Bailey, 107 South 18th Street. 417 is a state route. Is that correct? Has a traffic study been done?
Tom, did you hear that?
Yes.
Do you want to comment or do you want me to, or Jeremy?
Well,
I have an update.
I sit on my porch on weekends and invariably there are accidents and the traffic is horrific. You can't get out onto State Street. I have to go Henley, and when that new housing development on Nate Smith's property gets built on Henley Street, there's gonna be horrible traffic on both streets. So, I mean, what are you doing to handle the traffic? Have alternate sites been done for these apartment buildings, or is this all cut and dry? Just pick one of those questions and start anywhere.
Gary, you want to respond to that?
Yep, I can. So an alternate site, I can't speak on the developer's behalf. I can tell you what's before us is a permitted use. And housing is permitted in a general commercial area on this parcel. So there's nowhere that we could require them to have to try to find a different site because they're allowed to build on the property they own. Relating to the traffic study, New York State DOT said they didn't want to be involved and placed the onus back on the local government, being the city. So I think it was last week, I'd met with we have a new public works director, and I expressed some sentiments that were given by neighbors at the previous public hearing for the what project were
Hobby
we-
Lobby?
Yeah, thanks for our Hobby Lobby. Sorry, the previous public hearing. And so ultimately, with the board's request, I went to him and explained about, we understand the intersection was redone, perhaps the timing of that light isn't correct at Independence and West State Street. That's one issue to look at. And then the overall traffic study and impact of all of these ingresses, egresses, and intensity of use. What's changing in the West End. And the last time that it was done, so he's looking into that. He's reviewed data. We have a meeting this coming Thursday on it as well. And we being the DPW director, the city engineer, the head engineer, and then the head city electrician that has to do with the timing. And then our office being community development.
I mean, I'm in favor of all these new stores and businesses. I think it's wonderful for development coming to Olean. But those apartments are another issue with all the traffic. I mean, when you're considering 42 apartments plus what's coming on West State or on West Henley Street, it's awful.
Now, I'm not aware of a housing project on West
Well,
Henley.
maybe it's rumor, but I've heard Nate sold part of his property there and there are several houses of development going up there.
Yeah, we haven't, I haven't received anything on it.
Because I noticed my alderman's not here. I called Mr. Robinson about putting a playground at the end of my street. We have so many new families and there's kids running all over and we have no playground in our area at all. And I wondered why we couldn't do something down at the end of South 18th, 19th where the parking lot is. There should be plenty of room for a small playground. And I later found out that apparently someone wanted to buy a part of that and name the playground. They were going to pay for it. It was going to be privately funded, and they were going to name it after a family member. But then they thought it was all cut and dry, and Nate sold the property included in what other parcel he sold. So there won't be a playground down there, but that development down there is just bothering me because the traffic is horrific. The lady mentioned the wildlife and my shrubbery in my backyard gets eaten down to nothing. I've lost, I don't know how many times I've replanted and they've eaten everything because they have nowhere else to go. I mean, I have deer running up and down the street. So, I mean, really, I hope you really consider all these apartments. I know you won't, it's probably cut and dry, but that's gonna be a heck of a burden for all the residents in the area.
Well, the solution to traffic issues is increased installation and improved timing of traffic control.
It's not gonna help.
And if traffic continues to be an issue and gets to be more of an issue, then citizens should be going to their alderman and asking them to have traffic studies done and commissioned to look at placement of traffic studies. But that, that really goes beyond the scope of what we're able to do here at the planning board. That would be a city council action ultimately. For the developer, do you have any other comments on that?
Yeah, and just for our case, I know for our apartment buildings, we are located, the curb cut for us on West State Street is at a traffic light already. So for making lefts out of the parcel to go towards St. Bonaventure and make it rights, there will not be a great impact on traffic, even during peak hours, because the light would be timed. You can have modifications done if there's needed to for that light. Otherwise, for a project this size, there will be more traffic, but it won't be a great impact on anything.
2 apartments.
Are there any other questions?
Are you talking about Nate Smith's apartments?
I'm talking about the vacant lot on West Henley Street, all those acres that he
Okay.
is.
Oh,
He sold part of that.
All right.
Any other comments?
Yeah, how are you gonna fix that with the red light if you have all those businesses how are those businesses supposed to, work out? Like Little Caesars, Aaron's, AT&T, Enterprise, they have customers, and when you have all this traffic, there's nowhere for their customers to really go.
What about the semis?
And the semis, you can't forget the semis. That's their parking spot. These guys go beyond for us for food and stuff, and you guys are gonna practically take their spot away, so they have to park down the Walmart just to be home with their families.
To that part, none of the commercial parking on that site will be touched. It will all be saved. All the existing parking there right now will be for commercial use only. All existing and overflow on for nights for the apartments. But the day-to-day operations of all the existing commercial tenants we have will not be affected.
Residential and commercial. So that's business people. Well, commercial, business people.
What does the Pines say about this? I mean, it's a nursing home. They have families that come in and out. How are they supposed to get in there if they don't want to go from West State and they want to go towards West Henley to the Pines? I mean, you got to think of these elderly people too. They sit in their rooms all day, and I mean, again, you're taking away their wildlife from looking outside and enjoying it to putting buildings of people that, I mean, would you want to look out of your nursing home window and look at apartments? No?
Ma'am, this transportation issue will not impact ingress or egress into the Pines at all. And it should not impact the wildlife around the Pines either.
It's down a couple.
Yeah.
This is behind Aaron's.
Right.
It's not even over that way.
May I?
Yeah, sure.
Isn't this putting the cart before the horse? I guess the expression is, why build all this stuff and then look at the traffic? I can tell you that especially in the summertime, because that's what I'm well aware of, but between like 3 and 6 o'clock on a Friday night especially, you have traffic backed up all the way up to 13th Street at that traffic light, because everybody's coming out of work, everybody's trying to get to Walmart, get to Tops. It's really terrible, and I'm not exaggerating.
That's why we're looking at it now before shovel goes in the ground.
And it's not
Sounds to me
just
like
this
you already,
19th Street.
it's cut and dried about what's gonna happen.
Well, I mean, this is a
This is all of
permitted
the West
use.
End.
Yeah.
19th to the 26th Street is what this group's gonna look at.
Yes,
Well, that affects a lot of people.
right. And so that's what
Yeah.
we're trying to address is what's currently happening, what's been happening prior to COVID, what effects have changed since COVID with the data, and then what these developments are gonna do. And that's why we're meeting and looking at it, and we've asked for DOT guidance and they won't be a part of it. So that's why we're taking it on ourselves. And then ultimately, I do believe our director is gonna have to go to the Common Council, because this is beyond the purview of the planning board, and ask for a full-blown study to be done if the tweaks to the traffic signals and or signage or lane changes aren't gonna cut it for now. So then that's how we're gonna address
There's
it.
nowhere to go to widen the street. I mean,
And I don't believe we need to widen it. Cause I mean, putting 6 lanes in or 4 lanes, it's not, I mean, I'm not the traffic expert, that's why we're gonna
it's
seek
not
the
very mile. All
guidance.
I can tell you is what I see.
Yep, yeah, and this is good that you're here, and this is what got it started with us, was from the previous public hearing. That the people that live there are saying, hey, there's an issue, and so that was brought before us, being the planning board, and I've done my due diligence to say, hey, we need help. This is beyond the planning board, and we need the engineer's guidance, we need the electrician's guidance, and the director of public works. That's more their realm than ours. So, I mean, we are really being proactive. I mean, before a building permit hasn't been cut, the approval hasn't happened, except for the previous project. That's, I mean, not before us, that is in an existing commercial lot in the former Kmart building.
Ma'am, I just wanted to say, as a board member, we brought this up for us, I mean, the first time I saw this project was 2 weeks ago. So, you know, I mean, it's not like. you know,
I didn't sit on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and I'm just saying, you know, so and I brought up the traffic because I live on 13th Street. So I know exactly what the traffic's like on Friday. So, you know, and I mentioned that, and it's in the minutes, that we talked a lot about the traffic with all these projects going on. We know that road right there from basically the old Kmart where Hobby Lobby's gonna be all the way back, has to really be looked at.
Do we need all these apartments? They're building apartments at the mall. Can't they be put some, I know they own the property, I got that. But can't they think, I mean, it seems like they should locate them somewhere else.
But I mean, to that argument, I have a housing study done that says, yes, we do need all this housing. And the Manny-Hanny, the First National Bank, the Olean Center Mall, and this project still won't fill that need. We need that much housing here. We need good
We haven't
quality
built any
housing
housing in
stock.
this town
Plus
in
you should be
I don't know,
aware of the
40
fact,
years,
Yeah, at least.
40, 50, you know, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, you should be aware of the fact that it's not the planning board's function to sit in judgment over whether or not there's demand for a particular development to be built. If the developer wants to build it and it's an approved use, you know, it's the developer's responsibility to do the due diligence, the market study work to determine whether or not there's adequate need for it. We just look and see whether or not it's an approved use, and we want to make certain that it's built consistent with the zoning ordinance and state building codes. That's our only function. We don't sit in judgment about whether or not there's demand for this to be built.
But it is my prerogative as a resident of the area to object vehemently.
Any other comments or questions? I don't know if that was a question or not, but I thought it was a statement, so that's why I didn't answer it. You do have the prerogative to come in and object to a development. Right. Any other comments or questions?
Why was only one side of the street notified about this apartment buildings going up? I live on 19th. I live right by the trail behind Aaron's. Why was only my side of the street? You don't have very many people in there, because I was told that a lot of people didn't even get letters.
Tom, do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
I have a copy of the 250-foot radius that was prepared by the city assessor's office, and that's sent to property owners themselves. Whenever there's a 250-foot boundary of any part of the radius of that property, that's who the notices are sent to by our zoning ordinance and laws.
That's why you don't have a lot of people there. Then they'll be complaining later.
I have 9 pages of addresses it was sent to. And it was also published in the legal notice section of the Olean Times Herald, for the record, and online.
Okay, well, are there other comments or questions? Mr. Allen, I see that you're on, but you haven't made any comments. Do you have anything you'd like to add? I'm not hearing him speak, so I guess not, so.
It's not here.
I see unmuted.
What's that?
I said, I see you unmuted. I
Yeah.
don't know if he tried to talk.
He's not on this one.
No, he's just said,
Okay. Mr. Allen's communicated, he's just here, and doesn't wish to speak.
Okay, great. So I'll ask one final time if there are any other comments or questions before we close the public hearing. Last chance, folks. And we appreciate everyone who's come out. Max, you have something?
Oh, no, I was just saying goodnight. Thank you very much.
Okay. And Mary, how about you? Was that what you're doing too? You just waving goodbye?
Yes. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
We're gonna discuss these projects in the regular meeting, if you do want to stay on.
Okay, nope. Other meeting to go
Okay.
to. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Gonna go eat some dinner. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have Craig and Reed.
Craig and Reed.
Oh, sorry, Kathy. You're very welcome to stay. We're gonna discuss some in the regular meeting.
Any discussion on the motion? Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed. Okay, let's move directly into the regular planning board meeting. Please show the same, I'll recognize a quorum again. Please show the same members present in the meeting as we're in the public hearings. First item of business is the reading and approval of the September 26th public hearing minutes. Is there a motion to approve these?
So moved.
Second.
Mark and Mary.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 It's carried. We move down to the September 26th meeting minutes. I had one question on those. On page 5 at the bottom. The last line, it ends with, however, may provide a cut through. Can you explain to me what that means?
I don't remember.
Kathy, do you remember that one?
Jeremy noted that it would just be egress and ingress off of West State Street, but they would not be closing up the back. They would have the trees along the southern line. But there might be a cut, that people are doing right now, going through the paper street, how they cut through
Yeah,
too.
I think, 'cause
On the paper
I was
street.
commenting on that. I said, well, if you did, then it would be a cut through. People would just be cutting through it. It was more like
Like
a,
illegally.
like a statement, yeah. I said, if they were gonna have an egress and everything back and forth through there, it would just end up a cut through. You know what I'm saying? It was just like it was a statement,
Gotcha.
but they're not going to anyway, so it's not gonna go out in that paper street.
Well, if it's not a functional part of the site plan, perhaps we ought to delete that phrase. from
Yeah,
that.
it shouldn't be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll end it at Paper Street and delete however may provide a cut through.
Right,
Right, okay.
Okay.
okay. With that amendment, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I move we accept them as amended.
Second.
Craig and Jerry.
Made and seconded. Any discussion, any other revisions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are carried. Okay, now we move into our two projects. Let's do the 2810 West State Street project first. Site plan number 05-22, Olean 2020 LLC, the so-called Starbucks project. Let's see. We do have the easement provided to us. We also have the department comments as well. And it seems like some of those comments should make their way into our conditions, seems to me anyway. Carrie, do you want to walk us through those?
Yeah, absolutely. Out of the division, so it was the water distribution, said it needs a new water service tap to an 8-inch water main. Now, Jeremy, I do believe you had conversations with our code enforcement division, being Ryan, and or maybe our head city engineer about an 8-inch line.
Not for this site.
Oh,
I
wait,
talked
this
about-
is it's the other one.
I talked to Ryan, I've been talking to Ryan. I've sent him both plans for both projects. I talked to him originally about the water. It was for the M&T building with value next door
Okay,
for this side of the site. And then I've been talking to him about 2101 West State Street back and forth.
with that 8-inch, okay, yep.
So,
Tom, I don't know that we necessarily would need to condition that one, but I think that's more of the building permit process with our water distribution. But that was, one of the comments, and I know the applicant's been working on both projects with them. And then the water administration, it's the same thing that Dale writes every time. Please submit cross-connection control application with fees. I don't know that it's necessarily up to us to be sure to collect the fees for DPW.
as
And
long
then,
as long as there's a way to pick that up in the building permit process, I'm okay with not conditioning it.
okay, yes, there is.
All right.
With their permitting. And then electric, our city electrician is saying a traffic study should be done for vehicles leaving the area onto West State Street. And then our city forester has advised that the plan is appropriate regarding trees and any landscaping for the site plan.
Well, you're talking about a traffic study right now, and probably we don't need to condition this project on its traffic study being done. If a traffic study is done, the worst that's gonna happen is that we're gonna get traffic control devices installed. And that would be beyond our scope of approval anyway.
Right.
Are we in agreement on that?
Yeah, so I think it would be best, honestly, if you would, as the board again, direct me to, now it would be continue my conversations with our DPW director, our head engineer, and our head electrician, along with also me going back and notifying the mayor of the sentiments of the citizens and the board and expressing concerns.
Okay, that's good. And I would also add to that, keep NISDOT apprised of this as well.
I like that.
Even though they don't want to participate, at least they know what's going on, since it's their highway.
Right.
Okay. Okay. As to the parking space dimensions, we said the last time out that we can make a finding to follow the state code regarding the dimensionality in lieu of the city code. In other words, going to 9x18s instead of 9x20s.
Correct.
So I would like a motion to make that finding.
Motion.
Second.
Mary and JR?
Made and seconded. Is there discussion on that? Yeah, we pretty much discussed it up and down last time out. If there's any concerns, now's the time. Okay, hearing nothing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's carried. Let's see. We also talked about the applicant contacting DOT for current traffic data and providing that to the planning board at the last meeting. Is that, Carrie, is that subsumed by what you're doing or
Jeremy, do you want to comment on what you tried to do with DOT as well?
Yeah. So I've reached out to the traffic engineer for the Olean area. I sent him probably 3 emails and left him 2 voicemails. Then finally he got back to me. He informed me that the DOT said this was out of their jurisdiction since it was inside the county lines, and that
City lines.
city lines, and to report to ask the city if they have any concerns with any traffic issue. And that's when I reached back out to Carrie, letting her know that DOT did not want to be involved.
okay, so they did not provide you even with current traffic count data.
No, they would not. I said, other than what they said, if you want current traffic information, just about how many cars go by on a daily basis, to look at their website. Otherwise, they had no comments.
Okay. All right. We also discussed at the last meeting that we can make a finding that the project does not need to be referred to the county. We don't always do that, but the minutes touched on that, so I think maybe we should have the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded, discussion. This is probably a reasonable type of motion for us in the future to make this finding. That would allow us to document in our minutes that we discussed this, and it would be legally defensible that way because we did make a finding. So let's keep this in mind for future projects as well. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor on the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. The only condition that I picked up in the minutes, or that I remember, is that we want to make certain that the pole lighting is night sky compliant and downward shielded and directed downward. Were there any other conditions that are in this?
Tom, I have one other thing from my notes. I don't know that it's necessarily a condition or whether you want it to be a finding. The planning board would review the ingress and egress onto West State Street in the future if it becomes a problem.
Traffic conversation.
Yeah, we talked about that before. Remember?
I can't hear what's going on there, but I was just gonna say, let's make that a condition so that it's something that we can address in the future if need be. Okay, and you know, I refer us back to the lesson we learned earlier with the chicken barbecue project.
Agreed.
The proverbial chicken.
With those 2 conditions, unless there are any other conditions, I would accept the motion to approve the site plan as submitted with those 2 conditions.
Motion.
Second.
Jerry and Mark?
Any discussion on the project, on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Okay, we move on to the, and let me say, to the developer, please contact code enforcement and they'll get you involved with the building permit process. And we appreciate you investing in our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's move on to the next project. Olean 2020 LLC Site Plan 6-22, 2101 West State Street. Obviously, we had a lot of comments from the public hearing, which we'll take into account. But just go through and look at some of the other stuff we have. We also have comments from the departments. Carrie, do you want to walk us through those?
Coming from our lead engineer, the city utility map indicates an 8-inch sanitary sewer that shall remain as it serves the AT&T building. See attached sketch. This is honestly the 8-inch line I was referencing when I confused the projects. I do believe Jeremy's been in close contact with code enforcement and the engineering department, whether it was directly or through Ryan in that. And to my understanding, they have a really a clear concept, understanding what needs to remain, and it had to do with it being near the 20-inch Felmont effluent. Jeremy, is that correct?
Yeah, and our engineer is looking into that 8-inch. I believe we resolved that one with Ryan late last week. We're looking to or upgrading the sewer line proposed for the west side buildings, and we're making that an 8-inch, and we'll be rerouting a portion of the existing, because the existing 8-inch line is underneath one of the phase 1 buildings. And right now we're still working with him about the other line right now. So our engineer just informed me about 20 minutes before the meeting, he goes underneath 2 of the buildings. So we're gonna have to work through that issue still.
Yep. And just as an update to everyone, it's our engineer, it was Dave that, realized that, saw it, work with Ryan. So they're working through that process.
Okay, again, Carrie, will this be picked up in the permitting process? Or do we need
Yes.
a condition? We don't need a condition?
I don't believe so, no. It'll be a part of the building permit process.
And the water meter issue?
Yeah, so it's a 2-inch census water meter is required, not a Neptune. Submit cross connection control application with fees. It's generally Dale's normal comment. However, I can't speak to brands.
What's the difference?
Water admin must know. I think that will be worked through. Jeremy, obviously in your permitting process, I have no further guidance on.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them during the permit process and we'll get those issues worked out.
Okay. And those were all the other comments received. With the rest of the divisions being none, they found it to be acceptable.
And in terms of the easement? Pardon me.
It's one parcel, so an easement wasn't necessary.
Pardon me, I was on the wrong project. Sorry.
Okay. Hey, don't worry, I just did it.
Yeah, I was puzzled myself there for a moment. I'd also like to ask for a motion to make a finding to follow the state code with respect to parking space dimensions as opposed to the city code. That is the 9x18 instead of the 9x20s for the same reasons.
Moved.
Second.
JR and Mary?
Made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All that's carried. Jeremy, did you provide the revised site plan showing the revised locations for the ADA parking spots?
Yes, I sent those down a couple days after the last meeting.
So you have copy of that, Carrie?
Yes,
Okay,
that's what went in member packets, right?
in terms of the, there is that easement issue relating to the 60-foot easement for the Seneca gas line, electric line. Have we clarified that, Jeremy?
What was the issue with that one?
I'll just read you the sentence. In response to Ms. Cooper's inquiry regarding the underground retention field and French drains located around 3 of the 4 buildings, Mr. Wassel noted the location of a 60-foot easement that includes a Seneca gas line and an electric line. Mr. Wassel advised that he would verify the easement and be in contact with the engineer on the project.
Okay, yeah, so the question that was the French drain didn't go around all 4 sides of the building. And the reason for that is the 8 unit building didn't have it on the west elevation. That's because the building set back 2 feet from the easement, and we're not allowed to construct on there. So we can't have any drainage on there, but with the current grading on site, we have it so the water will go into the detention pond in the back corner into the proposed storm drainage.
Okay. So we're all right on that, I guess. That is the only thing that I had that would be conditions. Do you have anything else on that one?
I don't know.
Okay, do we want to do the same kind of a motion to condition re-looking at the egress vehicular traffic flow that would allow us to move toward the traffic study?
So I think how we worded it before was the planning board would review the ingress egress onto West State Street in the future if it becomes a problem.
Yeah, that's a condition, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So do we want to add that same condition to this project as well?
Tom, is that necessary with there already being the traffic light?
Yeah.
My notes on the last project were we were going to be reviewing regarding the right and left turn onto State.
Yeah. Well, I tend to think not. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I just wanted to bring it up because we did have the comments about traffic from the neighbors in the area, so.
My concern last time was there right at Independence with all of that right there. That's why I really don't think on this project down further with the light there,
I
that it's
agree.
in the same situation at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so just the general discussions that Carrie's having with the departments about whether or not we need a traffic study on West State Street. That should take care of what is being expressed by the neighborhood residents.
I agree. Encompasses a bigger area.
Right. Okay, so
so maybe you could direct me similarly, like similar language like you did with the last one, that I go and I express the same types of sentiments to those same individuals, being, the mayor, even that older person, our DPW director, our electrician, our head engineer, I mean, if that would help. And then I could relay these concerns and again, what's been expressed by residents at a separate public hearing pertaining to this project and really West End traffic in general.
That's a great idea. You are so directed.
Thank you. Oh, and I'll keep NISDA apprised.
Right, thank you.
Mhm.
Jeremy, is there any, one of the comments was the tree barrier. I think that was on the east side of the property. And you said that there will be some trees retained.
Yeah, I believe it'll looking like the aerial that looks like to be there's some trees between our property line and the trail. We can look in if we think there's going to be more landscaping needed in the future after we develop and there's some space. We can definitely look at that. We do this all the time with our projects in Western New York. If we
Yeah.
feel there is need for more buffering or landscaping, we can add that in the future.
Yeah, I'm a little reluctant to condition that on this, but, I'd like to ask you to say
Yeah.
additional visual buffers, vegetative buffers there, if you have space and it works for the development.
Yeah, we can look into it more.
I
We'll
would
look
think
into it again.
you might even want to, for your tenants' sake, being that the trail and the public is going right along behind their residence. They may want that for their own privacy.
Yeah, we will definitely look into the future if we get those complaints from both tenants and the neighbors in the future after it's built. We can definitely go back at that point
Okay.
and some landscaping.
Is that something you're comfortable, Craig, without
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
requiring a condition?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm not hearing any conditions on this project. Carrie, do you have anything?
Oh, I just, the two conditions I thought were, the night sky compliant and, varying with the parking.
No, the night sky, there's no pole lighting in this project. All there is the sconces. There's just the sconces on the buildings.
Yep. I am completely wrong.
We're down the street again.
I agree with you, Tom, wholeheartedly.
What was the other one that you had?
Varying from 9x20 local, parking spaces to 9x18 state code
But
parking spaces.
That's actually,
Is
right, 9x18s. So it's not a condition. Right?
Just the statement that it's.
We just
state-
voted to
Right.
accept them.
Right.
Yeah, we already, yeah.
Yeah, we already made the finding go that way. And it's in the site plan that they're 9x18s.
Yep, that's all I had.
Okay, so there are no conditions then. All right. Motion to approve the site plan as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Made and
Whedon,
seconded.
Jerry?
Made and seconded. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Again, please see code enforcement to begin the building permitting process. And again, we thank you for investing in our city. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Have a good evening.
Right.
You do.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay, we push along. Is there any new business?
None.
Miscellaneous or communications?
I believe Kathy had sent out an email reminder about the annual sexual harassment training that needs to take place prior to our year end. And then just also a reminder about the annual 4-hour planning board training requirement. And I do believe it was back in June, Kathy had originally sent some Zoom links and handouts with some of the NICOM information. And so that way you can complete it, when it's convenient for you and the city's going to find it acceptable. Because then you would complete that self-certification form saying that you did it. So if members, would like to take that training, then provide us with that form once complete, then Kathy will also track that for the files.
Could you send out to each planning board member an indication of whether or not they're compliant for this year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other miscellaneous or communications?
No,
Okay, next meeting date would be 2 weeks from tonight, if we have business. Okay,
yep, and Tom, I honestly am not aware of anything. Actually, it wouldn't be 2 weeks from tonight. That would be the 5th Monday.
yeah, it'll
So,
be next week, right? Yeah,
yeah, so if anything, there would be a meeting on November 14th.
right.
And we just had a meeting with code enforcement really last week. They don't have anything coming down the pipeline, and I haven't heard of anything either.
Okay,
So we may have off in November.
okay.
You probably will.
Yes.
Okay, well, happy Halloween, everybody, and possibly happy Thanksgiving. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second,
Jaren, Mary?
Made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank
Thank you all.